The Chicago Sky thought they were getting their savior back. Fans were buzzing. The arena lights dimmed. And Angel Reese was supposed to step onto the court and remind everyone why she became one of the most polarizing figures in women's basketball. But instead of a triumphant return, the night turned into a sobering reality check. Reese's comeback wasn't the headline performance. Chicago needed it was the exact opposite. Missed opportunities, sloppy play, and a lack of presence when it mattered most had Sky supporters shaking their heads. And the timing couldn't be worse. The Sky are already fighting for relevance in a WNBA season dominated by Caitlin Clark, headlines, sold-out arenas, and record-breaking viewership. For Angel Reese, this was supposed to be her statement game. Instead, it raised more questions than answers. Has the hype finally caught up to her? Is she really the future cornerstone of this franchise, or just a role player who can't carry the weight of superstar expectations? As the Sky stumble and fans lose patience, one thing is clear: Angel Reese's big return has thrown Chicago into a full-blown crisis. The Chicago Sky entered this season with a mix of hope, anticipation, and pressure. After all, the franchise is still rebuilding its identity following its 2021 championship run and the departure of key veterans. Angel Reese, one of the most polarizing young stars in the league, was seen as the centerpiece of that rebuild. Drafted for her rebounding, grit, and infectious energy, Reese brought with her a wave of attention unlike most rookies before her. From viral highlights at LSU to a massive social media following, she was marketed as the face of a new era of the Sky. But with great hype comes even greater expectations. Fans didn't just want Angel to play well, they wanted her to dominate, to prove she could be the answer to the Caitlin Clark craze sweeping the WNBA, and to re-establish the Chicago Sky as contenders. This wasn't just about basketball, it was about pride, reputation, and the battle for relevance in a league now getting more eyes than ever. That's why Angel's return to the court after missing key games was billed as her moment. The Chicago Sky hyped it on social media. Broadcasters teased it in their coverage. Fans bought tickets hoping to witness the spark that could reignite their season. Angel Reese was positioned as the storyline, the headline, the savior. But basketball has a cruel way of exposing reality. Instead of a heroic comeback, Reese struggled from the very start. Her signature hustle plays were missing. Her offensive impact, already under scrutiny, was nearly non-existent. Even her defense, whence her strongest weapon, looked flat against quicker, more disciplined opponents. What should have been a triumphant moment for Reese and the Sky turned into an embarrassing reminder of how far this team has fallen. The crisis isn't just about one game, though, it's about the trajectory of both the player and the franchise. Angel Reese has the star power, but can she back it up with production on the floor? The Chicago Sky desperately needs stability, but instead, they are leaning on a player still learning how to adapt to the professional game. Meanwhile, fans are becoming restless, and critics are already sharpening their knives. It's not the first time Angel has been in the middle of a storm. From college controversies to fiery rivalries, she has never shied away from drama. But this time, the stakes are different. This isn't just about headlines, it's about her ability to deliver results at the highest level. And in Chicago, where expectations are high and patience is short, her latest performance may have opened wounds the franchise can't easily heal. The big question now looms: was Angel Reese ever ready to carry this kind of weight? The night was supposed to be a statement. Angel Reese, after sitting out games and stirring constant debate among fans and media, was finally back in the lineup. The Chicago Sky framed it as a turning point, the moment when their young star would silence critics and reassert herself as the centerpiece of the team's future. But instead of the redemption arc everyone anticipated, what unfolded was nothing short of a nightmare. From the opening tip, it was clear something was off. Reese struggled to find her rhythm, missing easy layups and getting beaten on defensive assignments she normally thrives in. Every missed shot was magnified. Every turnover fueled the growing skepticism. The fans, who had come to support her, couldn't ignore the frustration building in the arena. And then came the real twist: instead of lifting her team, Reese's return seemed to expose the Sky's deeper problems. Teammates looked hesitant, unsure whether to keep feeding her the ball or pivot to more reliable scoring options. The chemistry was fractured, the game plan messy, and the momentum slipped away quickly. What should have been a night of celebration turned into a glaring reminder that one star alone cannot carry a struggling franchise. The conflict didn't just play out on the court, it spilled into the commentary. The media, And even the stands. Pundits who had been warning against the overhyping of Reese pounced instantly. Social media erupted with brutal comparisons. Caitlin Clark is transforming her team, while Angel Reese can't even finish at the rim. The rivalry narrative that has followed both players since college was reignited, now amplified under the bright lights of the WNBA stage. But the real dagger came in the postgame. Instead of showing accountability, Reese doubled down on her confidence, telling reporters that she was still the future of the Sky, and dismissing the criticism as nothing more than haters chasing clout. For supporters, it was a sign of resilience. For critics, it was more evidence that she was more concerned with image than results. The first twist in this saga is brutal, yet undeniable. Angel Reese isn't just fighting opponents on the floor, she's battling the weight of her own hype. By failing to deliver in such a highly anticipated return, she didn't just lose a game, she reignited every doubt about her ability to live up to superstar expectations. For the Chicago Sky, the implications are even more troubling. The team's reliance on Reese has left them vulnerable, and without her producing at an elite level, they look more like a franchise searching for identity than one ready to contend. The crisis has shifted from a single performance to an existential question. Did the Sky bet too much on Angel Reese too soon? This is where the drama takes hold. A rising star at the center of controversy. A franchise desperate for direction, fans and media polarized, each side digging in deeper. And as the pressure mounts, it's becoming increasingly clear that this was not just a bad night, it was the spark that could ignite a much larger firestorm. As the dust settled after Angel Reese's rocky return, the real storm was only beginning to brew. Chicago Sky fans had hoped this would be the night their franchise regained its footing. But instead, Reese's underwhelming performance triggered an avalanche of questions that went far beyond one game. The tension around her wasn't new, but this moment magnified everything. And it quickly escalated into something far bigger than anyone expected. The first sign of trouble came in the locker room. Sources close to the team began whispering about visible frustration from veteran players. According to reports, a few teammates were seen shaking their heads during huddles, frustrated with the constant push to funnel the offense through Reese when it clearly wasn't working. Some even questioned whether the coaching staff was bending too far to accommodate her star status at the expense of the team's overall rhythm. But then came the shocking reveal. The Chicago Sky's internal staff had been debating Reese's role long before this game. Anonymous insiders claimed that there were growing concerns within the organization about how sustainable it was to market her as the face of the franchise when her development lagged behind expectations. This wasn't just media chatter, it was a real conversation happening behind closed doors. That the situation spiraled when ESPN released a segment comparing Reese's trajectory to Caitlin Clark's meteoric rise with the Indiana Fever. Clark, in her rookie season, was already altering the culture of her team, drawing sellout crowds, and stacking highlight performances that made national headlines. Meanwhile, Reese, despite being a household name, was now being scrutinized for failing to translate hype into dominance. The comparison wasn't flattering, and it poured gasoline on an already raging fire. Social media went wild. Hashtags like #SkyCollapse and #OVERHYPED Reese trended overnight. Fans split into camps, those defending Reese as a young player still finding her way, and those insisting she was proof of manufactured stardom. Every play, every stat, every post-game quote was dissected like evidence in a trial. And then, the most shocking twist yet. Leaked practice footage appeared online showing Reese clashing verbally with a teammate during drills. In the clip, Reese demanded more touches, while the teammate shot back that she needed to earn them on the court. Though the video was never officially confirmed by the team, its circulation only deepened the narrative of tension inside the locker room. The Chicago Sky organization scrambled to do damage control, releasing statements about team unity and confidence in Angel's growth. But by then, the damage was already done. The public perception was shifting. The storyline was no longer just about one player's bad night. It was about a franchise on the verge of unraveling because of how it handled its young star. What made this escalation even more intense was the timing. The WNBA is in the middle of a cultural boom, with rising stars like Caitlin Clark and seasoned legends like A'ja Wilson pushing the league into the spotlight. Instead of seizing the moment, the Sky seemed mired in drama, unable to balance development with expectations. And at the center of it all was Angel Reese, polarizing, talented, marketable, but suddenly painted as the figure dragging her team into crisis. This shocking reveal that the organization itself had doubts and teammates were frustrated shifted the narrative entirely. Reese was no longer just facing critics on Twitter or analysts on TV. She was facing skepticism from within her own walls. And in professional sports, once that doubt takes root inside a locker room, it rarely goes away quietly. The Sky had banked their future on Reese being more than just a star. They needed her to be a leader, a cornerstone, a culture builder. But now, the question echoing everywhere was clear. Is Angel Reese the answer, or the problem? The fallout from Angel Reese's underwhelming return and the Chicago Sky's unraveling didn't stay contained within. The walls of the locker room exploded into the public arena. Fans, analysts, and even former players weighed in. And the reactions painted a picture of a franchise standing on shaky ground. On social media, the divide grew sharper. Reese's loyal fanbase doubled down, arguing that the criticism was unfair and premature. She's only 2 years into the leg. You'll act like she's supposed to be Candace Parker overnight. One viral post read, supporters pointed to her relentless energy, her rebounding dominance, and her cultural influence as reasons why the Sky should continue to build around her. For them, Reese wasn't just a player, she was a movement, a personality that kept the WNBA buzzing. But the other side of the conversation was far less forgiving. Detractors questioned whether the hype machine had gone too far, elevating Reese into a spotlight she wasn't prepared to fill. This isn't college anymore, one analyst declared on ESPN's First Take. At the professional level, potential doesn't win games, production does. And right now, Angel Reese is being outproduced by players who don't get a fraction of her attention. That clip alone racked up millions of views within hours. Former WNBA legends didn't hold back either. Some, like Cheryl Swoops, emphasized patience, reminding critics that most great players don't dominate immediately. But others drew harsher comparisons, pointing to Caitlin Clark's meteoric impact in Indiana and framing Reese's struggles as part of a growing gap between hype and performance. Candace Parker's name came up repeatedly, with many insisting Reese was nowhere near the standard Parker had set for the Sky. That narrative only intensified the drama. Since Parker's jersey retirement had just put her career back in the spotlight. Even within the media, there was a sense of frustration. Reporters covering the Sky expressed concern that the constant recentered headlines were overshadowing the team's broader struggles. This is becoming a distraction, one beat writer commented. Instead of focusing on winning basketball, the story is always Angel, her stats, her attitude, her social media, and that's not sustainable. The industry's reaction was just as complicated. Marketing executives, who had invested heavily in promoting Reese as a rising face of the WNBA, reportedly began asking tough questions about whether the narrative was helping or hurting the league's image. On one hand, Reese's presence guaranteed clicks, headlines, and debate. On the other, the constant controversy risked painting the WNBA as a league built on drama rather than excellence. Meanwhile, Chicago fans were caught in the middle. Many in the stands remained loyal, cheering Reese loudly, even through her struggles. But whispers of frustration grew louder with every missed shot or defensive lapse. For a franchise still trying to establish itself as a consistent contender, the stakes couldn't be higher and the patience of the fanbase couldn't last forever. The reactions, both inside and outside the league, made one thing clear. Angel Reese's presence in Chicago wasn't just a storyline, it had become the storyline. And now the question everyone was asking wasn't whether she could handle the pressure, but whether the Chicago Sky could survive it. Just when it seemed like the controversy around Angel Reese and the Chicago Sky had reached its peak, a new twist blindsided fans and the league alike. Reports began surfacing that members of the Sky's front office had started questioning whether Reese's role with the team was sustainable not just on the court, but in terms of locker room chemistry and long-term success. At first the whispers seemed like nothing more than speculation. Anonymous sources hinted at tension between Reese and certain veteran teammates, who felt her spotlight was overshadowing the team's collective identity. It's not that they dislike her, one insider explained. It's that the hype follows her everywhere, and when the performance doesn't back it up, resentment starts to build. That statement sent shockwaves through basketball circles. The cliffhanger came when a leaked report suggested that the Sky might actually consider trading Reese if things didn't improve quickly. The possibility sounded unthinkable. This was their young star, their ticket to national relevance. Yet, for the first time, the idea wasn't dismissed outright. Headlines began flooding social media. Would Chicago really move on from Angel Reese? And Sky front office exploring bold options. The reaction was explosive. Reese's fanbase, already fiercely protective, lashed out at the very idea. If they trade her, they're finished as a franchise, one fan tweeted, while another posted, "Angel is Chicago Sky. Without her, nobody cares." Meanwhile, critics argued that such a move might be the only way to restore balance within the team. Sometimes addition by subtraction is real, an ESPN panelist noted, sparking even more debate. But then came the real cliffhanger. During a post-game press conference, Reese was asked directly about the trade rumors. Instead of denying them outright or brushing them off, she gave a cryptic response. "I go where I'm valued. If that's here, then good. If not, I'll still be Angel Reese, no matter what." That single sentence ignited a firestorm. Was she signaling dissatisfaction with the Sky? Was she daring the front office to make a move? Or was it simply the frustration of a young star under constant scrutiny? Nobody knew for sure, but the damage was done. Suddenly, the story shifted from performance struggles to a potential franchise-altering decision. Would the Sky double down on Reese as the centerpiece of their future? Or would they shock the league by moving on from the player who had brought them so much attention? For fans, the uncertainty was unbearable. For the league, it was a goldmine of speculation and coverage. And for Reese, it was the biggest challenge of her career, proving not only that she belonged in the WNBA, but that she could carry a franchise without tearing it apart. The cliffhanger was clear. Was Angel Reese truly the future of the Chicago Sky, or the storm that could tear them apart? At this point, one thing is undeniable. Reese's journey with the Chicago Sky is no longer just about basketball. It's about identity, pressure, and the spotlight that follows her everywhere she goes. Whether you see her as the future of the WNBA or as a polarizing figure dividing the league, you cannot ignore the fact that she has completely changed the conversation around women's basketball. But now the question falls to you, the fans. Is Angel Reese truly the centerpiece that Chicago should build around, or has the hype outpaced the reality of her game? Should the Sky front office stand firm, give her time to grow, and trust that her star power will eventually translate into championships? Or should they make the bold move, step back, cut ties, and prove that no single player is bigger than the franchise? The truth is, this story is far from over. Reese's next move, on and off the court, will define not only her career but potentially the entire direction of the Chicago Sky. Every rebound, every press conference, every cryptic comment will be scrutinized. And you, as fans, as followers of the WNBA, have the power to shape that narrative. So here's the call. Don't just watch, get involved, debate, comment, defend her, criticize her, question the team, question the league. Because in this era of sports, the voices online are as loud as the cheers in the arena. Angel Reese's future isn't just being written by her or the Chicago Sky, it's being written by the culture, the conversation, and the people who care enough to speak up. The storm is only beginning. The question is, where do you stand? Where do you stand?